If I wanted to lose money, I'd just light it on fire. Because then I wouldn't even have to go to the casino.
Casino trip, full of chips. Wanna flip, double it.
Welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you'll never lose, where the stakes are high, the takes are bold, and the conversations are always full of chips. With your hosts, Chris, the Dice Degen, and Craig from Old Bay Craps. You're tuned in to Full of Chips, the podcast where we dive into our own experiences into the world of gambling and share stories straight from the casino floor. Whether you're a recreational gambler, a seasoned pro, or just curious what the buzz is all about, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the games, talk to the experts, and bring you tips that could tilt the odds in your favor. So grab your lucky charm, stack your chips, and let's roll into today's episode.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 47 of the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you will never lose. With your hosts, Chris the Dice Degen and Craig from Old Bay Craps. Craig, how are we tonight?
You know, we're a little fired up. It's been a couple of days of stress, including the weekend, because there's some news coming this way, our way, and not the show's way, but I've mentioned a little bit to you about it, but we're in the midst of the chaos that is involved in it. So we're working the kinks out, and we're gonna see what happens. But I'm also gonna tell you that before I send it right back to you, I'm gonna go right into my drink, and there's a reason. Is because my wife and I just got back from Dunkin'. All right. And I did not have time to put it, nor would it have fit in the whiskey glass from Lou. Thank you, sweet Lou. I don't know if you've got the glass up or if you have it handy somewhere. We normally show it every episode, but I've got the Chaos Coordinator tumbler, which is kind of fitting for the chaos I'm going through. And it's filled with marshmallow cold foam Dunkin' Latte that I've added bullet bourbon to. And when I added it at first, I forgot to stir it. So when I took that first sip, it was a pucker, man. How you doing, Chris?
There you go. Wow. You're going to have to let me know how that tastes.
It tastes amazing once you mix it.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. I do not have the glass. I have one. So Lou gave us two glasses. One I used to drink out of. One is on display on my craps table. I do have it behind me, but I'm not going to get up and get it right now.
I should do that.
I do not have it. I have a regular Eagles glass here as well. Because I have had a day, had a week for that matter. And there wasn't enough room in the glass for
the amount,
how much alcohol that I needed today.
All I'm going to say is I know that you've had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows all in the same month of time.
Yes. It has been a roller coaster ride for DJ this past month, especially this past, let's say, week. It's been wild ride that we have been embarking on. But today's just one of those days where it's like everything's just happening. And it was a long day in the office. I wish I could have drank in the office, to be honest with you. One of those days where you have those like all day meetings.
Yeah, where you work all day and you only get paid for not as much as you work.
But then you also get nothing done. Like you get none of your actual day job done. You just sit in this meeting all day long. Now, it is important towards my job, right? Obviously. But like my, let's say, day-to-day tasks, nothing got done other than sitting in this meeting all day.
Yeah.
And I swear the office sometimes just pumps. Like, you know how in a previous episode you said that Harris pumps in that, that sweet smell?
Oh, yeah.
I swear the office pumps like hypnotics and like sleep stuff through the vents, because by the time it's lunchtime, I'm ready for a nap, and it's not even a nap. Like, I'm ready for bed.
You're ready for hibernation.
To have to sit.
Right.
Yeah. And then I have to sit for another 5 hours after that. Like, I can't tell you how many cups of coffee I had. I lost count after 6 today, and that was before lunch. Like, it was an IV drip of coffee today. So yeah, it's been a day. But with that said, my day instantly got better when it's time to record, because I love talking to you. I love talking to folks at home.
Yeah, man.
And we got some new ideas that we've been working on for the folks at home. So stay tuned for some of those, because there could be some cool things coming. At least I hope they turn out cool.
We're also not going to stop being controversial. And I think tonight's topics, at least one of them, might be a little controversial. The way we're going to put our spin on it. I just want to, and maybe we don't need a fuck disclosures. Like if we upset anybody, email us at fullofchipspodcast@gmail.com. We're happy to take any kind of criticism or feedback. We are by no means telling anybody that they're wrong. We're just telling you our experiences from the casino floor. So let's get into it, man.
Let's do it, Craig. So the controversial topic, it's definitely gonna ruffle some feathers, because we know a lot of people who like to do something that we're gonna talk about why it's a bad idea. It's bad. And I don't know. I don't know. I think some people are gonna be like, well, these two idiots don't know what they're talking about. Well, guess what? We don't care.
We don't. And you know what? I'm not that we love to preface. This is more geared towards people who do not have large bankrolls, which is I would say is the
Yes.
majority of people that play craps. If you have a large back, you can just listen in while you're doing something else and jump in on the second topic, and make sure you stay for the top 5 and tip of the episode and stuff. But we're talking about the illusion of coverage, Chris. We're talking about how full spreads across all the boxes or even all inside drains your bankroll. It's true.
Yep.
I think you've seen it. I've definitely seen it. I've done it, and I've learned from it because I don't do it anymore. We're talking about players who love to play 66 inside or 96 across because they think it feels safe. And they like to do it right when the point gets established. And I'm here to tell you that safe in craps is one of the most dangerous mindsets to have. If the average shooter, Chris, only throws 5 to 6 rolls, then 66 inside and 96 across are not strategies at all. They're donations to the casino. And these bets statistically won't pay for themselves before the hand ends, ever. You're not betting the table or the shooter. You're just betting hope. And hope has killed many a bankroll, Chris. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yes, hope is probably the biggest bankroll drainer that exists. I would say even more than stupidity sometimes, right? Like you can be stupid, but like I hope sometimes. I mean, hope is a money suck. You know what's funny? So when you sent me, the what we were gonna be talking about today, right? I'm sitting here and I saw the topic, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm instantly thinking, this reminds me so much. So going across right off the bat in craps, again, unless you have a large bankroll and you can withstand it, but we know most people don't, right? For example, if you're a 10 shooter person, you got 96 across, that's $1,000 you need, 10 shooters, right? If you want to play on the safe side of 20 shooters, that's $2,000 that you need. Okay? So like preface that, keep that in mind, right? But this illusion of coverage. So instantly, you know what I thought of? Homeowners insurance.
Oh,
right?
okay.
You pay all this money for homeowners insurance, right? Because you're covered for this and you're covered for that. But something happens in the house and it's magically not covered. Like it's the one thing that could have happened that isn't covered by insurance.
That is hilarious because I was thinking of health insurance because you pay all this health insurance that comes from your paycheck, and yet you still go to the doctors and have to pay $20 copay, $35 specialist fees, and or prescription fees. So it's the same thing. You going 96 across, like you just said, you have to have $1,000 bank. No, you don't. You need more than that because you're talking about going 96 across if you happen to make the come out roll every single time. We know that's not going to happen. We've seen sequences that'll make you wish you had a come out game. Full of horns, full of come out sevens, natural 11s and sevens. Like you could spend literally $200 of that $1,000 bankroll just on the come out.
Yep.
And then you're going to go 96 across? What are you, nuts? Even six, and I think we've talked about this before. If you go 66 inside, like every single shooter, every single time, $1,000 is probably what you're going to need for 66 inside each time. But for 96 across, you need 1,500 to 1,800.
Easily.
You really do.
Easily.
But we're not actually here to tell you how to play. You can play any way you want. But this is why they fail, Chris. They remove too many. It takes too many hits to break even. 66 inside needs 3 to 4 hits on average to get back to 0. 96 across needs 4 to 5 hits to get back to 0. If the average roll is 5 to 6 rolls, and we've said this before, it's not 5 to 6 box numbers, Chris. It's 5 to 6 rolls. And they include the come out, 2, 3, 12. It includes natural 7-11s, we just said. And the point being established is one of the rolls. One of the rolls is establishing the point. Unless you're playing your box numbers, your 96 across, turning them on during the come out. Okay, how many times are you going to replace it like you do the bonus every time I come out 7? I was just at the local casino, and there was a guy that had 3 come out 7s in a row. Dude, that's a little less than $300 wasted on going 96 across.
Yep.
Plus the bonus bets you made. And if you did let's say you did a DP, you lost that too on the come out 7. And so people will spend more money, Chris. They'll be hopping reds. Okay, well now you're spending even more. So you're not just spending the 96 across or the 66 inside. It's more than that. And you have to be prepared for that. But I think, and I want to get your opinion on this, Chris, too, is, the spread is too strong for coming out later. It's too thin. It's too thin. You're covering everything, and it means you're strong nowhere. You're betting like the table is hot before the table is proven a thing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. You hit it right there on that last statement you made, right? Was going to be exactly my point with this going across, is that you're overexposed, right? For most people. Now, again, we said if you have a large bankroll, then you're not really overexposed because you have plenty of bankroll to play with, right? But like for the average person, right? I don't know what the average buy-in at the craps table is. I can guarantee you it's not enough to play 96 across, right?
No, not consecutively.
Not consecutively, no. And then, that's if you have a $15 table. If you're playing somewhere you got quarter tables, you're 160 across, right?
Yeah.
So like this is the problem with it. Even 66 inside or 110 inside or 154 inside, whatever you want to play, for most people, the harsh reality is that you are overexposed playing that from the jump, right? And like Craig said, to play inside, you need at least 3 hits. Well, technically, you need 4 to be semi-profitable, right? 3 hits will get you just about even, and you're going to be, down a couple bucks. But if, again, as many people in the craps world say, if you can't afford to lose a couple dollars on a shooter, you shouldn't be playing in the first place, right? But think about it from this perspective where you need 3 paid hits on the inside to still be down a couple dollars. You need 4 paid hits to be up a little bit, right? Just a little bit. And how many people, Craig, do we know that aren't collecting all those hits? They're going to press. They're going to do something else, right?
Yeah.
They're going to spread out to get to 96 across or whatever it may be. So in reality, you need, a slightly longer roll in order to even break even or make a few dollars. Well, guess what, Craig? What's the most common number on the dice?
That would be the combination of the 7, which comes a lot. It
does.
It rolls 6 times, 6 ways. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
When you're talking about 36 rolls and 1/6 of them are one number, and it's not the number you want rolled. That's bad. That's not a number you want, and you're putting yourself out there for too much. I mean, you're ignoring what's actually rolling, and most shooters don't roll numbers evenly. I think from the jump, 66 inside and 96 across, assume everything is coming. We talked about Clay's roll not too long ago. You said it was about 12 rolls total, and 6 of them were 8s, I think. 6 or 7 of them were 8s.
7, yeah.
So if you have 96 across, and let's say you have those 6 or 7, 8 8s out of those 12 rolls, it took 5 of them to get out of the hand.
Yep.
Without even pressing an 8 once, it took 5 of them to get out of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
When you've heard Chris and I talk about, getting a hit on an 8 or a 6 and dropping 3 and going to 42, or, a 36 and a 38, 1 hit dropping and then going down and then trying to go up. We're just talking about a 6 and 8. Chris and I aren't playing a 4, 5, 9, 10. We're just talking about playing a 6 and 8. We're building upon what just rolled. And I think that I think the one thing that makes it not just overexposed is that it makes you a passive player. Full spreads make players lazy. You stop watching the table. You're not reading the shooter. You're not adjusting, and you become a passenger to your bets instead of a driver. You're not driving on that one number that's repeating, or that one number keeps hitting in a batch of rolls.
Yeah.
I think the smart way to go, if you want to stop doing that, or if you don't want to stop going across and inside, is you got to go aggressive up front. If the average rolls are 5 to 6 rolls, you got to take advantage of the front end. And that's if you get past the come out roll in the 5 to 6 rolls. If it takes 4 rolls to get to the point established, you just left yourself one roll, and it could be a PSO.
Yep. Yeah. And now, will you get, some long rolls? Sure. Will it make the going across look great? Probably, right? But the average roll and most of the rolls you're going to see are going to be on the shorter side. So you have to, be prepared for that, and you have to understand that the coverage isn't the control that you think it is. And so it's funny, right? We were talking about the insurance thing, right? And I love that you thought of health insurance and I thought of homeowners insurance or car insurance or whatever insurance you want to talk about, right? But the other thing too is that, like, I think a lot of people have a misconception about gambling in general, right? But especially craps, because in other games, you don't have as many bets that can be placed, right? Like blackjack, you got your hand. Yeah, you may have some side bets and whatnot, but like you have your hand, right? You can only bet, let's say, so much on the hand, or you can only play one hand or whatever it may be. And the thing is, right, that a lot of people get this misconception where when you're investing, right, everybody likes to talk about gambling as investing. Well, yes, when you invest in stocks and other stuff, right, you want to diversify your portfolio, right? That's a big thing people talk about, diversity in your portfolio. Why? Well, if one stock tanks or one stock does really well, whatever it may be, like it doesn't have a massive swing on your portfolio value, right? Especially if a stock is tanking, right? Like if I buy a stock and it goes to zero, well, I'm shit out of luck because, I'm not going to have any money because I lost all in that one stock, right? But I'm not going to get into financial advice because we don't give out financial advice. But in investing, you want to be diversified. On the craps table, the diversification of your bets can be your downfall, because if you are too diversified, you have too many numbers covered and you're not getting the hits, it's going to be like that stock plummeting.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And we just mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, and that's the smarter alternative is aggression, regression, and surviving whatever else the table wants to throw at you. If the rolls are on average, and some people will have, we've said 5 to 6, some people will say 6 to 8, 5 to 8, whatever. Between 5 and 8 rolls, it's not a lot of rolls, especially when you're talking about getting out of the come out first. That leaves you probably on average 3 to 5 rolls on box numbers if you got the point established within 1 to 3 rolls. So the alternative is bet big early. Bet big early because the hand's young. You bet it when it's young. If the average hand is short, then the front end is where the money is. Because if you get that 1 or 2 hits up front and then immediately regress, now if you want to go inside or if you want to go across, it's all paid for. That's what we're talking, and you have to be able to afford it. You can't go with the mindset of, well, if I'm doing 66 inside and I need 660 for 10 shooters and I should bring 1,000, okay, well, if I go higher up front, I'm more exposed and I don't have as many chances. That's true. $1,000, you only have about 4 chances to do 220 inside and play the bonus and get out of the come out roll. But that's 4 chances at, we're all gambling. We get that. You all have chances that you're taking with your money. But I would rather get 220 inside, one hit. One hit gives you 66 inside free, paid for, and you get a little bit of profit. Paid for, and you get a little bit of profit. I was going to repeat it one more time, but then I realized I just repeated it one more time. But this is where you want to go, Chris. You want to go like 30 on the 6-8 and then double the first hit, whatever that number was that hit. 50 on the 5 and 9 or 90 on the 6-8. I've gone 90 on an 8 before and it hit. Dude, 105 in the rack and the 90 is paid for. You could always regress it down to $30 and now you've got even more in your rack. You're out of the hand. You're taking the swing before the 7 shows up. I don't think anybody can argue that there's not much you can do with PSOs.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing for the 7. If you're playing dark, PSOs are your best friend. But even that doesn't give you a lot of. It depends on how heavy you're going with your DP and your odds if you're putting them there to begin with. I was just telling Chris that I came home from the local, and ever since, all the way up to today, I've been just playing with $300, doing a $40 4 and 10 lay, $15 on DP, and I try to establish 2 DC bets before I put odds on both DC bets and the DP. Because a lot of them, whether it's a PSO, I win a quarter. Every single PSO, I win a quarter. And that's low exposure, but a lot of casinos won't let you lay the 4 and 10 for anything less than 40 because it wins 20, and you're still gonna have to pay a vig on that. I don't know. What do you think about going as a smarter alternative, aggressive up front and regressing quick?
So I like the concept of going aggressive up front. Again, it's bankroll dependent though, right?
I think so
Like
too.
if you don't have the bankroll, you can't go aggressive up front because a couple of PSOs will wipe you out very quickly and you have a very, very short session. However, I do like that better than just the constant 96 across, 160 across, blah, 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 whatever it may be, unless you're properly funded. Again, a lot of this comes back to proper funding and the fact that in reality, if you're not properly funded, you probably shouldn't be playing, right? Like, yes, you can catch a heater once in a while, and like you'll see those stories, people go to the craps table with $100 and they go 96 across and then magically they got $1,000 in front of them. Sure. But ask those people how many times they went and did it and burned it on one shooter, right? It's a lot of the time. And they won't tell you about that one. You'll only hear about the fact that they went big and it paid off for them. But, I think especially, in my experience and probably your experience too, right? Like, we go to the casino and do you see a lot of people winning? Certain nights, sure, right? Certain nights, certain days, not everybody's having a good day, right? Why are they not having a good day? Because the rolls are short. That's why, right? It's not because, they're betting everything and it's not hitting. No, it's because the rolls are short and the 7's biting them in the ass because they are betting everything, right? The perpetual just across bets, long term, you're probably going to be a loser, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
And some people aren't going to like to hear that. Again, if you are properly funded and you get aggressive, right? We know some people, right, who go across aggressive on the press and then boom, everything is paid for on, one of those pressed hits. Key point here, though, they are more than sufficiently funded to do that, right? Like, you don't see me buying in at a table for $1,000 and going 640 across. Hell no, right? But and people are going to be like, well, I'm not buying in for that anyway. I could never go 640 across. It's the same thing as buying into the table for 300 and going 220 inside.
However, we know somebody who does go 640 across, but they buy in for $5,000. That's different.
Yeah, and that same individual knows how to play the game very well, for that matter, and is aggressive on the press. And then next thing you know, they're out of the hand. And this is the key thing with how this individual plays. I'm not going to name names, right? This person, I know they're listening. I know we're talking about you. I appreciate how you play. I really do. Because it's actually almost an art to watch, right? And it's a nuance that a lot of people don't understand, and they get caught up in the fact that it's 640 across. It's 640 across, one repeater paid for, right? 640 across, 2 or 3 box hits out of the hand, right? So it's very impressive to actually see that, whereas the person who's playing 96 across and just collecting the hits, no. And does this individual get burned sometimes? Absolutely, right? If you want to gamble, you're going to get burned. It's going to happen every once in a while, right? But he also doesn't turn into a full degenerate and make that, maybe that PSO and then magically splash 1280 across instead, right?
But
No, it's just the same thing over and over again. And it's very uncanny to see somebody playing at that level who is so quick to get out of the hand, because most people who play craps really struggle to get out of the hand before they actually start making money. This person does it honestly flawlessly. Like it's very impressive to watch.
the thing that we're talking about though is they're taking profit immediately and they're regressing, because I know that person actually goes 640 across, I think for 2 or 3 hits, and then he goes right to 160 across. And he has a recovery system built into it if something goes awry. We know a lot of people who just go across there. They don't have a recovery system. I have a recovery system. I'm just dumb enough not to play it the way
Yeah.
I know it. I've only done it once, Chris, and that was on a live show. I got through 3 or 4 shooters and I was playing light side, light side, light side. And then something wasn't happening. And I immediately switched to dark. And I recouped probably 2/3 of what I had lost. And then I went kind of back to light side. But you take those 1 to 2 hits up front, and then you pull back to table minimum, which could be 66 inside or 96 across, or you at least press a unit on the number that hit, or you don't do anything at all. You literally take profit, regress, maybe remove everything or turn them off. Those are the smarter ways to play, I think. If you're going to, if you have that ingrained about inside and across bets, because you've already won the hand at that point and you're just letting the table play itself out to see if you get anything extra, you know. And we've talked before, a PSO happens 33% of the time. Stop focusing on the 33% of the time that it hits. Focus on the 66% of the time that it doesn't happen and there is another box hit next. And now you can start building on something. Look, bet what's rolling, not what you hope rolls. If somebody's hitting 3 6s, hammer the fucking 6, man. If they're hitting 2 9s, go heavy on the 9. But, if there's nothing but outside numbers, stop betting the 6 and 8. If there's nothing but inside numbers, stop betting the 4 and 10, or at least turn them off or take them to table minimum. We've said that before. Like, if you're going to go aggressive wherever on the box numbers, if you know that certain numbers are not hitting, or we've said on a long roll, if numbers stop hitting for a while, take them to minimum. You want to get as much in your rack as you can, but you're not going to fill your rack the majority of the time by going 66 inside or 96 across every single shooter, every single time. And I certainly wouldn't want somebody, I don't know, Chris, have you ever seen somebody who always played with their bets on and went 96 across or 66 inside?
I mean, I've seen people do it, and I can tell you for the most part, it doesn't work out too well. Like, honestly. And yes, again, there are long rolls, people make some money, but a lot of the time, the people who are doing the 96 across and the whatevers off the rip, and that's just how they're playing, they're hovering around even. They might be up a little bit, down a little bit, whatever it is. But then you catch a bad string, and it's like you're shit out of luck. And you brought up the recovery thing, right? You know what most people's recovery strategy is?
Stop playing because they have no more money in their bankroll.
Well, that's one of them. Or two, you hope and pray for the long roll that you can make it all back, right? Like there is no recovery strategy is the point, right? You run out of money and you're done, or you're sitting there, praying for that 30 roller that you can make just enough back that you're even or up a little bit. And then, all we're going to hear about is how great your recovery was. Was it, or did that shooter just, do really well for you, right? That shooter helped you.
I laughed because when you said that, I kept thinking of the people who always put, I was down to my last 100 or down to my last, whatever. And I don't know, it finally hit. It was finally time. I'm like, so
Yeah.
you had 0 recovery in your system. You made 0 changes during. You just played long enough and lost long enough that you eventually hit somebody who filled probability.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, you know what the problem is, Craig? A lot of the people who are betting the 66 inside, the 96 across, whatever value you want to put on it, they're not betting with a purpose. There's no purpose behind it. They're just betting because their purpose in their head is that they have maximum coverage. They got everything covered. They're going to win on basically every roll. That's not the purpose to be betting with, Craig.
No, and you know what? we've got a little theme in what we're about to talk about, which is stop watching. Now, we just said stop watching what's happening on the table, but now we're talking about stop watching as a standby and do what you came to do. Hopefully, that's what you plan to do when you came to the casino. If you had a plan before you came into the casino, this isn't for you. If you didn't have a plan and you just decided, well, I'm just going to see how it goes. We all know the phrase, see how it goes, never ends very well. So they may have a bet out there too, but now they're just standing by. And when they're standing by, they're just standing at a craps table without actually playing with intention, which frustrates the casino because you're not playing. You're just watching the shooters shoot dice. If you want to watch the shooters shoot dice, I don't know, go home and just use Bone Tracker or something and just watch 720 rolls straight. You can do that without betting, but you're at the casino. Like, what? You didn't come to the casino. God forbid you drove 2 to 3 hours to get to the casino. And now you're just going to stand and watch everyone and just have your decisions freeze at the table and be Mr. Hesitation. That's not fun. Craps rewards action at the table. If you're not betting with intention, Chris, you're just handing over the money without a plan. It's the passive player problem.
Yep, 100%, right? And the thing too is that, like, one of the key aspects, right, of a disciplined player versus a non-disciplined player is somebody who is betting with purpose as opposed to just someone who's reactionary, right? You can't react to what has happened already necessarily, right? Like we've talked about, if someone's throwing a number, yeah, you can react to it. Fine, right? Through 5 6s and 10 rolls. Wonderful, right? You should have already had a 6, but yeah, you can react to it. You might be too late, right? But how I view it is that every bet that you're placing should have some specific job or some specific role in what you're doing, right? If you're playing some sort of strategy, right? Every bet that you're making is a part of that strategy. Obviously, each bet the goal is for it to profit in some way, sure, right? But does your bet involve some sort of progression going with it, some kind of press, whatever it may be? Is it in an effort to get to a regression like we were talking about, right? Each bet has to be placed with an intent to do something, right? You're not just going to throw money on the table and be like, I don't know, feeling a 4 or I'm feeling this. Like, what is the point of that bet? And some smart ass already give me the comments. Well, for the bet to pay. Yeah, no shit, right? Obviously, we want every bet to pay. Okay? That's why we gamble, right? If I wanted to lose money, I just light it on fire because then I wouldn't even have to go to the casino.
There you go.
Right? But each bet has to have some sort of fundamental purpose behind it, right? Even people are going to be like, well, you talk about betting the 6 and the 8. Yeah. You know what the purpose behind those two bets is? 2 most common numbers on the table other than the 7, and I want to play the boxes.
But it's not just that. It's that you're betting that, but because you bet it with purpose and you have intention with it, you already have the plan for the next step of when it does hit again. When you talked before about the person who said, I'm feeling a 4, and they put a bet on the 4. When that bet hits on the 4, what do they do with it? They just collect it.
They don't know.
They don't do anything. They don't press. They don't regress. They have no plan for when it does hit. It's because the passive player waits for a moment that never arrives, Chris. And they comment on the roll. How many times have you heard somebody say, "Oh, I should have done that"?
So
then
often.
why didn't you? Then why didn't you? They're just stuck in hesitation town. I actually think that it might be a real town, Chris.
I think it might be.
Well, I think it's a lot of people just standing around waiting, but don't go anywhere.
Yeah, that casino gets no traffic, no business. Like their parking lot is always full, right? There's so many people just standing outside waiting to go in, but they never go in.
No, but that's the thing. Craps doesn't wait for you, man. If you're not in the game moves on without you. And watching the table is not participation. You're just avoiding doing something. Like Chris said, betting with purpose means every chip has a reason to be on the felt. Not because the table is loud, and not because the shooter seems confident, and not because the crowd's excited. Purpose means you press because it fits your plan. It's exactly what Chris said about the 6-8. You press You press because it fits your plan. You knew that you wanted to press it if it hit, and you knew exactly how much you wanted to press it. You knew exactly how much you wanted to take back to your rack, and you probably knew the next 3 presses, and it just comes out of you automatically. It's like rote, it's just you've already learned it and taught yourself how to press. And we talked about bet progressions. You already have your bet progression up here. You're just waiting for the number to hit.
Yeah. The other thing too is that when you have that intention, right, and that plan, it helps protect your bankroll, right? Because those just like willy-nilly throwing bets randomly or just sitting there, or if you are just the person just watching, and then we all know what happens when you're sitting there watching, right? You sit there and watch, what do? You miss out on a good roll, right? And then it's like, oh, now it's my time. And then you start getting ridiculous out there. And now you see all the short rolls, and then you start yelling at the shooters for having short rolls. The thing is, if you have the intent and the plan, right, you're not going to overexpose yourself like we talked about earlier, right? You don't have crazy working bets. You know what your bets are. You're not asking the dealer, do I have money on the 4? Or do I have, where are my bets at? Like, what do I even have on the table right now? And it also keeps you out of the center action.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it does.
A lot of those non-intentional bets, most of them go towards the center of the table, right? Very rarely do you see somebody who's sitting there and like, I don't know what I want to do. Let me grab an 8. Hell no. What do they grab? Maybe the hard 8. Why? Because the payout's better.
Right.
They think, in theory, right? Sure, the odds are better on the payout. The odds of it hitting are a lot less. But
the 5, but the 5 just hit 3 times in a row.
So I'm gonna bet the yo. Like, it's just it's uncanny. A lot of the people, like, I can't tell you, I was at my local not too long ago, right? And there was a guy who was standing there, he bought it for like $150 or something. I don't even know what it was. It was something like that, right? And he's sitting there and I'm watching him and I'm watching him and I'm watching him. And this guy has no bets on the table. It's just random nickels towards prop section. And I'm like, what are we doing here? So you know what the funny part is? I actually stopped playing for a short period of time, and I turned into the watcher at the table. But it was I considered it a social experiment, right?
Oh,
I'm like
you had intent though when you stopped to
did.
just watch.
You're right.
You
I
had
did.
purpose.
I
You had
intentionally,
purpose.
yeah, I did have purpose, but I was just curious what was going on, right? And now, please, for the folks at home, don't get this twisted where, because you've heard us say you don't have to bet on every shooter, right? It's different than what we're talking about. I'm not talking about sitting out on a random person that you don't want to bet on. This is completely different than that scenario, right? But I came up to the situation where somebody that was shooting, I didn't really want or care to bet on necessarily, right? So I'm watching this guy. And it's just, there was no rhyme or reason to the bets. At least I couldn't figure it out. And believe me, DGen can see patterns where patterns don't exist. Like, I'm looking for them. Believe me, I can make somebody sound like they, have a pattern going that just I pulled out of my ass. But I'm sitting here watching, and it was just random center action bets. And I'm sitting here, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, what is this guy doing? There was no rhyme or reason, no like trigger to start betting it. No center bets were ever hit. So I'm like, what are we doing here?
I don't, purpose is discipline. It's control. You talked about it earlier. It's got to be part of your discipline is having a purpose with your bets. But these people are skipping shooters, but they're not just skipping like a shooter because of something they saw. They're skipping shooters because they're afraid to bet. If you're afraid to bet, don't play. Why are you even at the casino if you're afraid to play? You should have had that as part of your that's part of your plan. I don't know, but you should be asking yourself some questions. You should be asking, what am I trying to accomplish? Do I want to grow my bankroll? Do I want to play it safe that night? Do I want to learn how to play with recovery? Do I just want to go on an ego trip and just, like you said, just go right to the prop section and do a dump, just see what happens? Again, we've talked before about maybe you're on a trip and you just had a couple of minutes before you had to be at like a business dinner. So you go to the casino and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to just dump it on the props. However, that's intentional too, because you told yourself, I'm going to go there, I'm just going to drop it here, see what happens. That's different. We're talking about people who are not betting. Like, they're just standing around basically taking up a spot. And a lot of times they're taking up a good spot, like stick left 1, stick right 1, or stick left 2. They're just standing there, Chris. What's their exit plan? are they going to even press? How can you press if you don't make a bet? You can't regress either if you haven't made a bet. What are you doing? You have to ask yourself, does this bet fit my bankroll? Yeah, you have to think about that, but that's before you come to the casino. If the answer is no, the bet has no business being on the table. And if you can't answer any of these questions, you're not betting with purpose. But don't get us wrong, betting with purpose doesn't reduce the excitement. It protects, like Chris said, it protects your bankroll. It keeps you grounded, during a hot roll. It keeps you steady during the cold runs. Your bankroll stays alive longer so you can enjoy the game. But you can't be afraid to bet. You don't want to be stuck in hesitation. I'm going to get a shirt that says FOC Hesitation Town. Stay out of Hesitation Town.
Yep. I'm going to put like a craps table with like tumbleweeds rolling on it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Hesitation Town. It's like now you're saying that. Now I'm thinking of like High Noon or some old Western. Welcome to Hesitation, where nobody has purpose. Welcome to the town of purpose. It reminds me of, I'm sorry, here's a movie reference. It reminds me of Rambo, because here's a Vietnam vet with PTSD who just wants to get a fucking bite to eat. And he came into Holiday Land at a town called Hope and immediately got put in jail, which he had to then escape. And that's the movie. I mean, hey man, all he wanted to do was a meal. He just wanted a meal.
He just wanted a meal. You know what people want, Craig?
I know what they want because they've wanted it every episode, and they ask about it, and they want it, and they want it, and they want it. You know what it is? It's the top 5.
It's the top 5. All right, Craig, it is time for our top 5 today. And our top 5 is the hidden costs of getting a feel for the table. We always talk about getting a feel for the table sometimes, right? But what are the hidden costs associated with it? We're going to give you our top 5 hidden costs associated with getting a feel for that table.
Yeah, I think that, this whole episode is kind of theme based. So each of the sections are linked, if you will.
Yes.
So, all right, here's my number 5. All right. You become the table's emotional support animal. Oh, I'm just observing. Great. The casino thanks you for standing there generating 0 revenue while taking up the exact amount of space a paying customer could use to play.
Yep. Yeah. All right. My number 5 is you think you're the mathlete with a degree in reading tables and gathering information when you're actually paying tuition to the school of randomness. What do I mean by that? So that was very lengthy. It's when you're sitting there trying to understand what's going on at the table, you think you figured it out when you haven't figured out shit and there's been nothing to figure out. Somebody throws 4 numbers, somebody throws 25, somebody PSOs. What have you figured out in that? I don't know. Aristotle over here figured it out though. So let's see what he has to say.
That's great. All right. My number 4. We've already really gone into it, but hey, here it is. You pretend hesitation is a strategy you just learned on YouTube. You're not being disciplined, you're stalling. And if procrastination were a betting system, you'd be a certified expert.
Yes. I like that one. My number 4 is you burn bankroll very, very early, and that bankroll can be valuable. Some people sit there and I'm just feeling it out. I'm just testing the waters. Next thing they know, they're down 25%, down 50%. Well, guess what? Does that bankroll you have left, can you do anything with it? Does it fit into your strategy that you finally figured out? It's like that light bulb goes off. The problem is you didn't pay the electricity bill. It's not going back on.
There you go. All right. My number 3, I'm going to do a little bit of acting here. Okay. So you miss every roll worth having. Okay. The shooter goes on a heater. The table erupts. Chips are flying. And you're standing there nodding your head thoughtfully like you're evaluating fine art. By the time you buy in, the roll is colder than a casino buffet shrimp. And we've had those.
Give you an Oscar for your acting.
No, the only Oscar goes to that episode with the Herb Brooks speech.
Yes, facts. That is very true. All right, my number 3 is you become emotionally attached to patterns like they were your first girlfriend. You watch a couple shooters and you convince yourself some number is hot, this table is cold, or nobody can do anything right tonight. You're sitting there making up a pattern in your own head while actually realizing what's going on at the table. And then you start trusting your feelings. The one that girlfriend broke. She broke your heart. She broke your feelings, and your feelings suck at the table right now. Ouch is right.
All right, my number 2. You build a whole mythology in your head. This table has a weird energy. This shooter needs to warm up, probably. This roll doesn't feel right. Congratulations, you've become the craps version of a meteorologist who is wrong 80% of the time, but still gets paid. We've all said that Chris and I are going to become meteorologists at some point.
One day I'm going to become, you know what? When I retire, I'm going to become a meteorologist.
There you go.
Just for shits and giggles. I'll be like, you don't even have to pay me because I'm retired, so I don't really care. And I just want to be a meteorologist.
Yeah, but that paycheck's going to pay for all your bankroll.
Yes, you're not wrong. It definitely will. All right, my number 2 might sound a little bit like deja vu, but you're trying to feel at that table and you miss the best roll of the night. You're sitting there waiting for, is this table hot or is it cold? 30 rolls later, you still haven't made a decision. You haven't placed a bet. And guess what? Now you hear people cheering because that ATS just hit. Shooter made another point, and your analysis paralysis costs more than one bad bet.
That's a shirt. Analysis paralysis.
That's a shirt. Yes, absolutely.
All right. All right. Hidden costs of whatever you're doing. But here's the reality, okay? The reality is number 1. You're letting the casino win without even trying. You're not avoiding risk. You're avoiding participation. The house doesn't even have to beat you at all. You're beating yourself. It's the most efficient loss they've ever seen.
Yes, it is. All right. My number 1 is, you know the saying, death by 1,000 cuts?
Oh, yeah.
Well, mine is death by 1,000 bad bets or small bets. A lot of people sit there and think, if I bet table minimum on this, or if I just place this, and then those small bets start adding up, right? They seem harmless by themselves. Once you start adding them all together and you look at them as a collective, it gets very, very expensive. And you're losing money while you're trying to gather information. And now you're trying to figure out, where the hell did that money go?
Great top 5.
Yes. I love that top 5.
Love it.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
We're staying on theme.
Staying on theme. And you know what is also on theme, Craig?
I think I know, but I'll let you say it.
You let me say it. All right. Well, the tip of the episode is on theme. So, Craig, earth-shattering news that our tip of the episode is on theme. What is our tip of the episode?
Our tip of the episode is, if the hand is short, your window is short. Act early or don't act at all. When a shooter's average hand is only a handful of rolls, hesitation is the most expensive habit at the table. Early hits are where the money lives, and waiting for confirmation is how players miss the only profitable moments they'll get. Have a plan, fire it immediately, and lock in before the hand statistically collapses. Purpose beats patience every time.
Yes. If you haven't picked up on that theme of purpose tonight, well, go back and watch the rest of the episode again, because you might pick up on it this time. Great episode, Craig. I enjoyed that one. Hopefully we didn't ruffle too many feathers. We may have ruffled some
We'll probably
feathers.
hear it from somewhere, but that's okay. I could take
I'm
it.
sure somebody will send me an email or send me a text message or something telling me, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Hey, we wouldn't be doing this show if we weren't in it to win it and fuck with people. So
Facts, 100%. And if you want to fuck with us, you can email us at FullofChipsPodcast@gmail.com. Full-length episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Short-form content on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And Patreon, link is down below. Go join, because you could find yourself on one of our episodes, or maybe a couple of yous could find yourselves on one of our episodes. So go join the Patreon down below. Because if you're not in the Patreon, well, you're shit out of luck and you can't join. It's free. All right. Don't cost you shit. Okay. Doesn't cost you more than that bet when you're trying to feel out the table. So go join it down below. Craig, take us out on episode 47.
And that's a wrap. Stop watching. Stop drifting. Stop letting the table make choices you should be making yourself. Until next time, keep your focus sharp, your decisions clean, and your mindset proudly and defiantly full of chips.
Thank you.